Hi, it's Xavier from Expressions of Grace Bonsai. I'm in my favourite filming area, the patio, and I've just got back from downtown nursery, and I found this for £10. Great big Fuji Cherry. It's got some flowers on it, and I want to turn it into a bonsai, but it's just a little bit daunting. So what should we do? Why don't you watch and find out? Gosh, this is cheesy, isn't it? Okay, so I didn't just go down to downtown and buy it. I actually got it last year, or maybe even the year before, from CHEAP Nursery. It's probably the last time I visited there. But the issue's still the same. You see this lovely monster. It's at a bargain price. In your head, you know it's going to be a good bonsai. Well, you think it is, but you've got all of these branches, and then you think, oh, well, I better not chop too much down, and I don't want to waste this because this could make good bonsai. Should I do air layers? And the truth is, you have to look at your materials sometimes and go, what did I buy it for? And I bought this for what's going on down there. Now, I don't know, it could be two trees, but the only way I'll find out that is getting it out of this first. These things root so easily that if I want to get cuttings, I will literally get a great big bucket and I will put all my offcuts into those, and I'm sure some of them will root. Is it worth doing less than pencil thickness air layers? No, you can do it. It's good for practicing, and I'm sure if you haven't seen my air layer videos, links up there, that'll show you how. But from these, I'm not seriously going to get any decent bonsai from air layering. And if you're going to air layer a tree, it means you're looking at it with a view to where I get that air layer from. I'm actually going to get a good tree from it, so it makes it worth waiting 6 months to a year and delaying what you were going to do on the original tree. So no, I've decided against all those options, and what we're going to do is we're going to pull this out of the pot, get that root structure down, and we're going to really bring it down to our primary development. So today in this Bonsai Basics, we're going to learn about primary development again. I think the last time we did that was with the larch, and I've suddenly lit up, so hopefully it won't rain on me. Let's have a look and see what's going down on the engine room. And obviously I accept that it's flowering now. In fact, it's been flowering for about 3 weeks. I'm not intending to get flowers from this. This is taking it all the way back down, so all I want to do is establish a basic structure. So flowers, not worried about. In fact, if I fill that with soil, I'm going to put all the hardwood cuttings, which is what they'll be, see how they get on in there. And I'm apologies, I can see the lights going in and out on this camera, and one day I might actually learn how to use it properly so it's not always in auto mode. What I'm going to do is use my usual approach when I've got something this big. It's I could try and untangle it, and I know for those of you who haven't seen Taco's bonsai, he's worth having a look. He's great hearing him chat. He's really down to earth by the scenes of it, but he loves to go to detail with his bonsais, and he's got a slowly increasing group of subscribers. But if you haven't seen him, Taco's Bonsai, have a look. I think you'll find his style quite good actually. I enjoy watching him. And while I'm doing plugs, my Best of British small channels is continuing to grow, and there's a few more with. I think the latest one I've added there is Not Another Bonsai Channel. It's only put a couple of things on there, but have a look. You know, Best of British, we want to support it if we can, as well as Taco. Right. Truth is, I will only want half of that. Now, for those of you who are nervous, then by all means you can sort through the root structure yourself. I'm relatively confident that I'm not going to want half of what's in here, at least. Okay. Hey, got a bonsai. Just get the muck out of that now, or later. The amount of times I work on use my tools for mucky stuff like this. and intend to clean it later and never do. I will also apologise, I could well end up dashing inside because of rain, but anyway, so there's groups of roots there, but I'm not bothered. So in situations like this, are we going for the Tony root rake or the Bobcat root rake? And I think you know my answer. And what I'm primarily looking for is to see what this root structure looks like. The roots on these are a little bit more delicate. So now I'm getting nearer to the actual base. Still can't decide. I think those two trees, they're either two together or they're fusing together, but they're refusing to part. That was terrible, wasn't it? Now obviously with this amount of root removal, I'm not going to want a lot of that. All I'm going to want is some of those leaves, I think. But you'll see that in a minute. Definitely feel a bit of rain coming. And as I say, this is the first opportunity you have to affect what those roots are going to be doing. And if you're no doubt about how important that is, you look at Kenneth DuBon's videos or Nigel Saunders, both them Yelly as well. They really go on and on about forming that root structure first, that base you want. So this is the one time you've taken out of the pot when you can really go hard, because once it starts going to a smaller pot, it's never ever going to have that energy again. Okay, he's already clear. We've got lots of roots going up and around, so I'm now going to start removing. Initially I just want to clean anything here at the top. Don't want that. Something here that's coming out from the top. Don't want that. Top. 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 And anything basically that's coming up at the moment, I'm going to remove. Now we're getting a lot more flatter on there. It's going to be crossing. We've got something underneath it. Again, with this, you're looking to reduce down to the first viable good root spread. Just looking here, I've got something crossing there. To make this easier, you can rinse it out, completely clear the roots out. Sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. Probably in this one it is a good idea, but the reality is it's really cold. It's supposed to be -2 tonight. So look underneath. Lovely. There is a nice, definitely, it's two trees together there. Definitely been fused together. We can already see there's going to be an obvious removal, and that'll be that one. Roots that I'll need to sort out, some crossing stuff, but what I want to do is get rid of any knobs that are coming down. We've got a knob there. The knob on that one. So the whole idea is I want this to sit very flush. This one's going across, don't like it. It's going across. Let's get rid of that entirely. I'm literally clearing out this base just beneath the actual trunk of the tree and relying on roots higher up. And yes, it's lots of roots I'm removing. And yes, there is a chance that it doesn't like it and doesn't respond and dies. I mean, I personally think it'll be fine. Once I remove a lot of branching, I don't want anything upward. So this is my one opportunity to form the roots how I want them. Okay, I quite like this structure coming down. That can be tucked into the soil. it's basically getting those really tough, hard ones. If they're pointing in the wrong direction, get rid of them early. Right, I think I've removed enough. And if you look back to what it was, again, a lot of some of these upward ones I'll remove later, but these aren't going to get in the way of the formation of the new structure, so I'm less worried about some of these. That'll get tucked down. Still a bit hard. We're going to get that into a pot now. Now clearly it's not going to go into a bonsai pot. We want to get it into a decent pot that's going to allow lots of room for growing, but I also want it to have a nice shape because it's going to stay in there for a few years, I think. Okay, I found a pot. I think I had one of the ginkgos in it. I haven't done the filming, but I actually repotted 4 of those ginkgo. I checked my database and it had been 4 years since they'd last been potted up and they needed it. Anyway, that's the structure. I'm absolutely not bothered about the front at all right now. Just want to get it in this. Use my my earth sleeving. I haven't got a lot left. It's getting quite difficult to get hold of for some reason. Because this is had so much root work, it's the initial root work, I've taken so much off. It's a bit like when you first do your yamadori. You want it to be very, very secure in the pot because it's going to be forming new roots and you don't want those breaking off, especially as there aren't that many in there, so it's very, very important. So I want to make sure the roots I have got are spaced out. What I do want to do is make sure these roots that are here actually space out and they're more radial, so I'm going to use where they bounce back a bit. I'm actually going to use rocks to separate and encourage them in the direction I want, because as I say, this is really is your one opportunity. There we go. I'm going to fill that up with soil. As always, eradicate air pockets. It's definitely interesting, that. And for those of you who are still asking questions about what soil I use, if you go onto my Bonsai Basics, which this will be part of, you'll see there's a whole section, there's a video all about soil, and I mention it quite a few times. Pretty well 80% inorganic, with a heavy emphasis on cat litter. And just as long as they don't decide to use this as their toilet, I don't mind too much. There we go. So you can see the base from there. Clearly there's going to be a front here. Not so there. Not so, there's nothing there that cries out at me. So with that in mind, that's going to be our front. So I'll be now making very, very initial basic pruning decisions based on that front. Okay, I like that. A few little roots I'll have to trim up. What I have been doing, I just went off and prepared this off scene. Basically all the old bonsai soil that I've been leaving to one side, hoping to dry it out, and I decided, you know what, let's just use it for that. I put a bit of pine bark on the top, and as I prune, I'm just going to dip them in there. If nothing comes of the cuttings, nothing comes of them. But if something does, well, when I get visitors here and I want to send them back with something, I'll have some rooted cuttings perhaps. So, first decision. That's going to be the front. That could still be useful, but it's very, very stiff. I like that round movement. I don't want to break it up. So let's get rid of that. From that, I am going to take that and just stick it in about halfway in. So there's a little shoot on that. Again, remember, if you make that a cutting, is it worth it? It's a very, very straight, and then you get this. And yes, you may get buds further down, but I've got a choice. I might actually be more interested in what's further up. So, no, I'll put that in. This looks more interesting. Much more interesting. and you don't want loads of growth on it because it hasn't got the energy, because it hasn't got a root system. So I'm not going to spend ages on this, but I would basically look at every piece and reduce it to that. Poke it probably about that much into the soil, and I'll do that with all of these as I go around, but I'm going to do that off camera, and maybe I'll show you an update on those in 3 months time. Right, we've removed this. That's a great big thick thing. If we want to be styling taper, we want to get rid of that. So let's make that decision now. Okay, and that would probably be the only one where you think, do I bother air layering for that? But if I had a look at it, what I might try, because I don't know how well they root from lumps like that, but I might just try and see if I get roots to form a clump. I don't think I will, I really don't, but you know what, let's find out. I will literally push that straight into that earth. Okay, I need to sealant on that. Big cuts, trying to protect from disease to a degree to stop it drying out, but it's also primarily to stop disease going in there, because that will get cut further back, probably another 3-4 months. So actually you start looking at there, and now you suddenly start seeing that could look a lot different. Right, so 2 branches from there, that's fine. We've got buds here and here. They're pretty, they're the buds I want. I'm going to keep this 3rd one, but really it's going to come all the way back down to here. If you look at that, actually that does look quite nice. That's just that. In fact, if you look at that way though, you get your back branches going out there. This one, I'm not sure that this is dead actually. Okay, so that's dead. That would have been interesting to know earlier on before I removed that one, wouldn't it? Right, and there you go. So when you're making decisions, the best of us can sometimes be a bit quick. I removed that great big thicker branch, just assuming that the one I just had to remove there was alive. It never occurred to me it was dead. Check. Before you make big cuts, check, check, check. Because now, I've no doubt this will bud all over the place, because they do. It'll be fine, but I might well have done a different thing with that branch. Anyway, let's have a look here. We've got 1, 2. If you look at the way this works, there's a great knuckle of something there, which we don't really want. I don't know if you can see it properly, but here, comes from behind, like that, so we don't want that bit in there, it just looks terrible. So we're going to cut that off. So from this junction, 1, 2, I can see this middle one actually going. That's dead. That's dead. Let's just let's just be brutal there. Brutal there. You knew I was going to do this. We've got a bud under there, bud there. I want buds there. For the sake of nicety, we'll keep those up there, but that bud there is one I really want. Nothing showing up here at all. So by cutting all this back, that should ask something of it. And in fact, let's really ask something from it now. We'll cut all the way back to there. In fact, we want that bud, so let's just cut back to there. And the more I look at it, I mean, there's loads there, loads of little buds on it, so I know we'll get lots of buds from here. So the truth is, we wouldn't really want that anyway, would we? Okay, that's got to be cleaned up a bit. We just need to put some cut paste. Again, by putting the cut paste, we're sealing this from the environment. That's going to give a lot more opportunity for those buds to come out. Okay, I'm not worried about these end bits particularly. If you wanted to, you could put a bit of cut paste on them. It's just these big wounds that I'm more interested in. At this point, we can now start seeing what roots are just sticking up. Okay, I'm just going to clean up my workspace and then give you a 360 and we're done. Okay, that was brutal at times, but it needs to be. This is your first ever chance to get in at that tree. This is your first and probably best and last chance to get in at those roots and set them how you want them. You can be brutal. It's got all that stored energy that it had from the nursery pot that hasn't been disturbed. So there's lots of energy right now in that. So it's the best time ever for it to produce new growth, new roots. Do it now, or honestly you could really set yourself back years and years and years. That's the lesson I've learned certainly over the last 20 years. Yes, you may occasionally lose one by being brutal, but you know, it's a hobby. I could go down the pub and spend 20 or 25 pounds on a beer. That probably tells you how long it is since I went out drinking, because it's probably a lot more than that for an evening in the pub. But that's 10 pounds. It's kept me busy for 3 hours, and I have real high hopes for it. So I'm happy with the basis of the structure of the roots that are there. I can now see, because I've cleared away everything, I can see what the primary structure of this main trunking is, and it's a lovely twin trunk. It's got some beautiful movement, so I can see that. I have literally, like I did with the olives, just kept a couple of branches that I think may well be good in the future, and then I have ignored absolutely everything else that was there. And if you remember what it looked like, I'm sure I'll have a picture flashing up about now. I don't know about you, but that's pretty daunting, and that's why it's been sitting there for a year. I didn't know, was I going to air layer it, was I going to take cuttings? I didn't want to waste bits of it. And then I remembered when I came out this morning what it was that we're trying to do. We're trying to build a bonsai, and as part of our Bonsai Basics, this is how I do it. So hopefully you've picked up something from this. Hopefully you're going to look forward to seeing this tree develop, and certainly Fuji Cherry's March time, this is going to throw out loads of beautiful growth, flowers. It's gorgeous. Any questions you've got on this, please is that like a bit of Beatles song, please me? I'm not going to try singing it. Whack something down in the comments and you know I'll answer you. Thanks for taking the time to watch. If you haven't subscribed, do so. Notifications, all that usual stuff. If you think someone else can benefit from this, then please share it on other social media sites. I'm really happy with how that's turned out. I'm glad I've removed everything. Yeah, that for a Fuji Cherry bonsai, that's going to be really nice. And I've done a whole variety of cuttings straight into the soil. I will not treat them any differently. I probably will put them in the cold shelter, greenhouse, only because it's going to be -2 tonight. But the reality is these will sit down the bottom of the garden where I used to be, where they get a lot of shade, bit of sun, and we'll see how they do. And if they're anything like their hardwood cuttings from December, which are flowering profusely right now, yeah, I'm quietly confident. But we'll see how that goes, shan't we? So from Xavier at Expressions of Grace Bonsai, I wish you all the best. Happy bonsaiing. God bless. Cheers.